Alright, so let's talk about Loopmancer. This game just came out as I'm recording this July 13th, 2022. It was developed by eBrain Studio and published by Shu. This game is an action roguelike game with multiple endings in a cyberpunk world, futuristic, story-rich RPG, action, adventure, completely single player, indie game. It has Steam achievements, full control support. I played with an Xbox One control. It worked pretty good. And with Steam Cloud. The game's going for $25.99 or $24.99 US. So let's talk about the game, a little bit about the story, what I think about it. Is it going to be worth your time and money? If you're watching this review, please come by Twitch where all of this is being reviewed. And if you want to see the gameplay, I upload it all on the secondary channel called MabiVsGames VOD. So let's jump right into it. This game, it plays very similar to other sort of 2D action roguelikes such as, Dead Cells and stuff. There is even sort of, some similar moves like a ground pound and stuff. But basically the whole game loop of Loopmancer is going to be you, starting at the beginning and your hub, getting some upgrades, talking to some characters, going to a stage that is somewhat a little different every single time in terms of its layout and stuff, but you're going to be fighting the same enemies, using the same weapons, and fighting the same bosses, and slowly going through and getting as far as you can before dying again and then going to do the loop again. So what makes this game stand out? What makes it different? So first of all, the game's story, I think it's honestly, I wasn't expecting this, but it's probably its strongest suit here. Not only are you a little bit invested in the main character because they give you, you just jump right in. This guy is a private detective who works for a big, sort of detective agency company. And it's in the future, 2046. This guy has a prosthetic arm. He can do special abilities. And basically, you are in the middle of a mission where a reporter has been killed. And you have to go talk to this former gang leader, which you put away 5 years ago. As you go through the tutorial, you learn all about jumping, fighting, how everything works there, your stamina usage, whatever. You go all the way through, you talk to the guy, you fight a boss, and then you die. It's pretty much a scripted death. You wake up and it's Groundhog Day. You wake up in your bed, you get little visions of a little bit of the guy's past where and this is not spoilers, this is the first couple of minutes of the game, where you and your wife and your child, you got into car accidents, leaving you with having to get a new arm. The child is now deceased, and the wife is now without working legs, and you guys have split for a little bit. So every single time you die and you wake up, you sometimes get a little bit of hints here or there about how the relationship became to be, how it deteriorated, and maybe some rekindling there. So as I mentioned, the game's strongest point is the story. You got the main character, but the biggest thing is exactly how each loop, he interacts with a lot of people. It doesn't go too crazy far off, but there are little fun little interactions every single time you come back. You die, and you come back, and you are the character. The main character is the only one that remembers what happened. So it's it's interesting trying to him talking to a lot of people. They say the same things, but then he sometimes goes, okay, I already know what's gonna happen, blah blah. And then some characters go, what are you talking about? He's like, I can't explain, I'll have to talk to you later. And then he introduces to some people beforehand. He's like, okay, I know this is gonna happen, blah blah blah. So as you keep going through and you go through these stages, new bosses, new characters, you have different sort of stages to go through, and you get to choose, do I want to go to this stage, do I want to go to this one, and it affects the story. So you always do the same first mission, but then after that you can always branch off, and then it affects different characters. Will they make it, will they not make it, etc. So like I said, the story is the strongest point just because it's fully voice acted. There are some cutscenes, and it's nice to see the different the different choices and how it interacts with everything. So let's talk about the other half of the game where it might make or break people, which is the combats. Now, it's I've played a lot of these types of games. I don't think the combat's that great. It's smooth enough that you can tell that they put a lot of work into it, but it just feels a little clunky, and I don't know how to put my how to completely sell you on the gameplay. But there's just something about it where it works good enough. You can run, but there's no walking in this game where it's precision fighting. There needs to be some sort of dead zone, maybe a little bit of walking sensitivity there, but it's 0 to run. So you have your HP, you die, you take damage by just getting hit by enemies, environmental hazards, falling through pits, explosions. You die, you start over. You have your stamina, which every single time you jump, double jump, dodge, or run uses up stamina. So if you don't have any of that, it you can't do any of that. It goes away after a while. Dodging, you can dodge on a whim after an attack. There's a little bit of attack delay after certain actions, but you can essentially dodge and go through a lot of, through enemies, and you can also dodge just, almost complete iframes, which is nice. I was not expecting, also the game has some humor. It's pretty serious with the story in general, but some of the weapons that you pick up and some of the lines that the enemies say are pretty funny. It got a little cringy and weird where a lot of the basic enemies you fight over and over, they just straight out just, cuss at you the whole time. Motherfucker, oh, this motherfucker, this, you fight like a baby. Motherfucker. And then every once in a while, you kill an enemy and then a Wilhelm scream comes out. And it happens so many. It was cute the first couple of times it happened, but it happens so often. And sometimes I kill two enemies at once, and both the Wilhelms popped up at the same time. So I feel like that should be an Easter egg that should be very, very rare. And the voice lines, please tone it down. It's too cringy, but it's funny. So you have basic weapons like machetes, swords, axes, other knives. But then you have the funny ones. You can have like a stool. You have like a fish. You have like a tonfa, like a iron tonfa. It's interesting. And some of the different sorts of enemies, you have the basic thugs, as the axe gang, and later on, as you get further along, you find like different drones, samurais, and stuff like that. And some of the big enemies, they're pretty charismatic. And sometimes when you die, you actually get one of those Batman Arkham Asylum, screens where the boss is talking to you. And he basically says a little quip, and then you wake up in bed again. So, I don't know if I 100% recommend it. It's cool that the story actually drew me in, and I do recommend it for that. For the gameplay, I don't think it's as strong as, let's say, a Dead Cells, right? Where that game is really concise and tight. There's something about this where it's using the Unreal 4 engine, and it looks great. But this is one of those games where you're gonna have to spend a lot of time learning the patterns of enemies and really getting used to all of the visuals around you, because it's really important in this game that you learn the different cues of the enemies. A lot of them you can whack away and you can essentially flinch and knock them back and you'll be fine. But then some of the times you have to notice, okay, the enemy is glowing orange. I can't knock him back anymore. He's now glowing red. He is about to strike. Now there's a bunch of lines coming out of his head. He's gonna throw something. So you have to really learn. But then it's kind of hard because the environments, though beautiful, it's like very sensory overload. So it's hard to look at all of the models when you're trying to remember all of your moves, all of your weapons, because you got your melee, you got your accessories, you have your special abilities, you have your guns, you have your dodging, you have your double jumps. You have to memorize everything. So this is one of those games where it's a lot of practice. It's pretty difficult. I do have to say, you can play on story, easy, normal, or hard. Warning, if you do play on the hardest one, you can't change it back. So I'm assuming you can go normal, easy, normal. Okay, story, easy, normal. You can probably switch between those. But if you go to challenge mode, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, that's it. The game's not terrible at all. I do like there's a good amount of weapons you can get. I believe, hold on, there's like a list here. There's like over, 100 different types of weapons, skills, and different chips. So you're going to be unlocking them permanently or finding them in the runs. If you find them and you unlock them permanently, because every single time you defeat an enemy, you're going to get something called E-chips. You can use these E-chips to unlock a progress bar that permanently saves. If you die, you lose all the chips, right? But if you're able to bank them in certain weapons and chips, you can find them in the same place every single time. And then you can use them, and then you can bring them back to your database there, your hub, and you can upgrade them. You can increase cooldown, your damage. You can lower the requirement for you to activate overkill and stuff. So there's a good amount of different weapons to use. You're going to find your favorites. You're going to find good weapons, good synergies. And it's really nice that you can permanently unlock them and you can upgrade them. So it's got that going for it. So this game is not bad. I just really, really wish that I loved the combat, that I was super in love with the combat. Because the world is fun, it's cyberpunk-ish, and the story's great. It's just something a little bit about the combat that I don't really get that well. It just doesn't work that well for me. But other than that, I think it's a solid game. I would give it a positive review. And yeah, I would say with my personal experience, maybe 70% recommendation out of that for me. And that's it. So if you guys enjoyed, leave a like. It helps a lot. If you haven't already, subscribe for daily videos. Once again, come by Twitch where all of this is being streamed, and head on over to the Let's Play channel if you want to see the gameplay. All links down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.